but the cry, and nobody's crying but me. Friends all over know I'm trying to forget about how much I care for you. It's all over, but the dreaming, poor little dreams that keep trying to come true. It's all over, but the cry, and I can't get over crying over you. It's all over but the crying,
and nobody's crying but me.
Friends all over know I'm trying to forget about.
Hello, I'm Zihan. Welcome back to another episode of Not Just Games. Today, we're going to talk about dogs. Have any of you been killed by a dog in COD? Attack Dog, or K9 unit, is one of the kill streaks in COD World at War. Players can unlock it as a 7 kill streak in multiplayer mode. The dogs spawn and attack enemy players on the map for 60 seconds. In the game, friendly dogs appear as German Shepherds and enemy dogs appear as Black Belgian Shepherd Malinois. Meanwhile, in the single-player campaign of COD Ghosts, there's also a playable dog, Riley. He is a member of the Ghost Squadron and works as a friendly character who will help and support the player by sniffing out explosives and assisting the player against hostiles. Coincidentally, he's also a German Shepherd. So, is German Shepherd the only dog breed we see in military units? Well, let's find out. Before that, I would like to let you know that the script for this video has been reviewed by a practicing veterinarian. If you find this topic interesting or useful to you, I would like to sincerely ask you to like this video so that more people can enjoy this video. Now, let's get back to business. Dogs were originally bred from wolves. They were the first animals to ever be domesticated by humans and are known for their strong bond with their owners. They are often called man's best friends as they serve humans in many ways by being herding dogs, guard dogs, hunting dogs, guide dogs for blind people, police dogs, and so on. Today, we're going to specifically talk about police dogs and military guard dogs, also known as war dogs. Dogs in warfare have a very long history, dating back to very ancient times. They were used by the Greeks and Romans often as sentries or patrols and were occasionally taken into battles. The earliest battle recorded with the use of war dogs was Auyats of Lydia against the Cimmerians around 600 BC. The Lydian dogs killed some invaders and routed the others. Frederick the Great was credited with coining the phrase man's best friend to describe one of his greyhounds. He used his dogs as messenger dogs during the 7 Years' War, more than a century before dogs were used as messengers again in the First World War. War dogs were first officially used for military purposes during the Second Seminole Wars. The dogs helped fertile Seminole Indians hiding out in the wildest parts of Florida. About 20 years later, hounds were used in the American Civil War to protect the men, although not in any kind of official capacity. By the First World War, America still didn't have a formal military dog training, although the Red Cross used them to find wounded soldiers. But the US saw how well other countries used dogs in wars and eventually secured some trained canines from France and Britain. As a result, these dogs became very useful for the armies as sentries, scouts, messengers, rectors, and for finding casualties and explosives. Not long after the Second World War commenced, the US Secretary of War, Harold Stimson, proposed an official military dog training. By the end of 1942, each branch of the military had a dog handler with the dogs under their command, and dogs were finally integrated into American combat units. The US military had a list of 32 breeds at the start of the Second World War, but by 1944, it was shortened to only 5 breeds, namely the Belgian Shepherd, German Shepherd, Doberman Pinscher, Collie, and Giant Schnauzer. Besides these 5 breeds, Alaska Malamutes and Huskies were also trained as sled dogs in Arctic countries. Honestly, I don't know how Huskies made it. I mean, look at this. And this. And this. Anyway, as mentioned before, things have certainly changed, and we have only 5 breeds now. So today, we're going to talk about the breeds of dogs we commonly see as the US military working dogs. First, the German Shepherd. After the First World War, it was known as Alsatian Wolf Dog in the United Kingdom, and the name was only changed back to German Shepherd in 1977. It is the finest all-purpose worker amongst dog kind and very much preferred as standard military working dog breed because of their unique combinations of traits. Despite its big and muscular body, it is very agile. On top of that, it is intelligent, dependable, predictable, easily trained, usually moderately aggressive, and can adapt readily to almost any climatic conditions. Although many other breeds exhibit some or most of these traits, German Shepherd, more than any other breed, most consistently exhibits all of these traits. Since the end of the Vietnam War, German Shepherds have been part of the US military working dog program. Even until today, the Shepherds are still helping the army in countering global terrorism and many asymmetric threats. Other than common tasks like scout duty, warning soldiers about the presence of enemies or of booby traps or other hazards, German Shepherds are also trained to parachute from aircraft or as anti-tank weapons. They are used as messenger dogs, rescue dogs, and personal guard dogs. Because of their keen sense of smell and their ability to work regardless of distractions, they are also used in search and rescue, cadaver searching, narcotics detection, explosives detection, accelerant detection, and mine detection. German Shepherds are known for their ferocity, and that is also why K9 units are made out of these big boys. However, there are some exceptions. Gavel, a German Shepherd, was fired from his job because of his friendliness. Instead of threatening the enemies and searching for explosives, Gavel only wants a good belly rub. Fortunately, he did not stay jobless for very long. He landed a better job for being himself and became the official vice-regal working dog. All he has to do now is to welcome visitors and attend official ceremonies in cute outfits, and I'm so happy for him. Second, we have the Belgian Malinois. Belgian Malinois is a medium to large breed which is somewhat similar to the Shepherd. In fact, some classified it as a variety of Belgian Shepherd rather than a separate breed. Compared to German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois are more reserved towards strangers. But, just like German Shepherds, they help the military with a sharp sense of smell. They play an important role as the German Shepherds in missions such as detection of narcotics and explosives, search and rescue, and so on. On top of that, Belgian Malinois are also given a very special task by the Secret Service, which is to guard the official residence and workplace of the US President, the White House. In October 2014, 2 Belgian Malinois made a headline when they tried to protect the White House from an intruder. They continued to attack the intruder even as he kicked and punched them. Of course, there are a few notable Malinois, including King Tut, US President Herbert Hoover's pet dog. Hoover's campaign decided that a picture of him with the dog would make a man who had never run for office appear more down to earth. Thousands of photos of Hoover holding the paw of King Tut were printed and circulated across the country. And Hoover got elected. Obviously, his officials made the right call to feature such a handsome dog in Hoover's campaign. Next, we have the Labrador Retriever. They are the most popular breed in many countries, including the United States and the United Kingdom. Best known for their obedience and loyalty, they are the most preferred disability assistance dog. Labradors are often trained to help those with blindness and autism. known to be naturally active and alert, Labradors also have a superior instinct in woods and water. As a result, not only did they become the traditional water dog of Newfoundland, they have also been turned into duck retrievers and fishermen's mates. Although Labradors are not as aggressive as the Shepherds or the Malinois, Labradors are also trained as military working dogs. Their sense of smell allows them to home in on almost any scent and trace its origin. As a result, they are utilized in combat tracker teams to track down criminals and discover wounded soldiers. As the bond between Labradors and humans grew stronger, this group of friendly canines have also been introduced to the veterans as therapy dogs, mainly to keep these veterans company as they battle PTSD.
My dog Freedom.
They tend to be calm dogs but have plenty of energy, which means they aren't overly excitable but are able to perform lots of necessary tasks. Labs are also hyper-aware of everything going on around them, which means they can alert their owners to danger or other things that need immediate attention. Loving a lab or white Labradors are preferred as psychiatric assistance dogs. There's no wonder why Labradors are many's first choice. Not only do they fight alongside the army on battlefield, they also become the retired soldiers' best friends when the latter are dealing with a whirlpool of emotions. Fourth, the Doberman Pinscher. Dobermans have been ranked amongst the most intelligent dog breeds. Of course, Dobermans were not required to sit an exam together with other dogs. Instead, they were evaluated from many different aspects, such as short-term memory, agility, ability to solve problems, etc. Dobermans were conventionally thought as a ferocious and aggressive breed. Because they were not ideal fit as man's companion, the breed's aggression has been toned down by breeders over the years. However, Dobermans are still very strong dogs and can become pushy, destructive, and unmanageable if not raised properly. That is why socialization starting in puppyhood and obedience training are imperative. Puppy training classes are highly recommended as well. Although Dobermans are large, intimidating, fearless, and protective against their owners, they are sufficiently obedient and restrained to do so only on command. These traits make them the best personal protection dogs. Today, they are known to have a more even temper as well as extreme loyalty. Dobermans were used in both world wars as messengers, sentries, and guard dogs. Just like their other canine friends, they also helped in detecting narcotics, explosives, and mines, on top of aiding many rescue missions thanks to their keen sense of smell. One of the most heroic Dobermans was a boy named Cappy. In July 1944, Dobermans joined the US Marine in Guam when they were on a mission to reclaim the island that had been captured by the Japanese. One night, Cappy the Devil Dog was tasked to stand guard over 250 sleeping Marines. When he detected approaching Japanese soldiers, he alerted the Marines and successfully evacuated the camp, saving the lives of 2,050 men. Unfortunately, Cappy was injured in the ensuing battles. He succumbed to his injuries and became the first Devil Dog to be killed in battle during the battle in Guam. Cappy's friend Kurt, another Doberman, was the first canine casualty in the war in Guam. After the battle in Guam, a war dog cemetery was built to honor these heroes. Names of Cappy, Kurt, and 23 other war dogs were inscribed on the cemetery. Last but not least, we have the Giant Schnauzer. Needless to say, the Giant Schnauzer looks like a miniature Schnauzer, but way bigger. There are three types of breeds: the miniature, the standard, and the giant. The miniature weighs between 14 and 20 pounds, the standard 30 to 45 pounds, and the giant Schnauzer 55 to 80 pounds, and can grow as tall as 2 feet at the shoulder. The Giant Schnauzer was originally bred as a multi-purpose farm dog for guarding property and driving animals to market. These big boys soon were recruited for both world wars, but were more popular in Europe. Meanwhile, in the US, it was more of a show dog or companion. During the Second World War, Giant Schnauzers were used by the Air Force but were found unsuitable for military duty. Until the early 1980s, the Air Force decided to try one more time. Then, one notable Giant Schnauzer, Brock, made it into the Air Force's 100th Security Forces Squadron. Brock, a black-haired Schnauzer stood out amongst his teammates, the German Shepherds and the Belgian Malinois. Being the only Schnauzer in the team, some have even mistaken him as a pet dog. Brock is the first and only giant Schnauzer in the defense department in almost 30 years. But the fact didn't dim his light, as he won an opportunity to be part of the security detail for President Trump's visit to the G20 summit in Hamburg, working alongside the security services dog team. Even though these fit and strong dogs carry out their missions courageously and perfectly, they are not spared from illnesses. Canine hip dysplasia is the most common inherited polygenic orthopedic trait in dogs, especially the large breeds, such as the aforementioned breeds. A layman's way to explain this is that the dogs get painful joints, and the only thing to blame is their genes, although it is also modulated by epigenetic and environmental factors. To overcome canine hip dysplasia, it's important to control the dog's diet and maintain their weight. The owners are also advised to guard their dogs in doing regular exercises. However, it shouldn't be an issue for these military dogs to exercise regularly. Besides canine hip dysplasia, some breeds, like German Shepherds and Labrador Retrievers, are more prone to idiopathic epilepsy or seizures. Seizures can have a very dramatic appearance, but they are not painful. A dog undergoing seizure is unconscious, and it needs to be approached carefully to avoid unintentionally biting other dogs or people. Once the diagnosis is confirmed, the dogs will be given anti-epileptic treatments in order to reduce the frequency and severity of the seizures. Then, some of them also suffer from progressive retinal atrophy. Dogs like Giant Schnauzer and Labrador Retriever are more likely to be diagnosed with this illness. It will result in a progressive blindness over months or years. Unfortunately, there isn't any effective treatment for this illness yet. The affected dogs will most likely become totally blind. Then, we have von Willebrand disease, an inherited blood disorder. Dogs who suffer from von Willebrand disease might experience mild to severe bleeding during injuries. It can also cause spontaneous bleeding from the nose, mouth, and urinary, reproductive, or intestinal tracts. Doberman Pinscher is most commonly affected by von Willebrand disease, but German Shepherd has a very high chance of getting diagnosed with this illness too. In an emergency situation, transfusion of fresh blood or fresh frozen plasma may stabilize a bleeding patient. Besides, indiscriminate breeding has led to a higher level of hereditary diseases in German Shepherds than other breeds. That is also why it needs extra care when it comes to keeping a German Shepherd healthy. Nevertheless, there's no dog breed that is completely spared from these diseases. All of them deserve attention whenever they feel sick. Once the military working dogs are retired from their duties, they will be put up for adoption. Many may think that these guard dogs are too ferocious to be home pets. But fret not. These retired canines have to go through certain behavioral tests to ensure they are good fit for adoption. For those who fail the tests, they will be made available for their former trainers and non-profit organizations. However, it's not that easy for one to adopt a retired military working dog. Not only is there a long waiting list, but applicants will also be carefully screened in order to find the dogs the best home. In fact, about 90% of these retired dogs ended up with their former handlers, probably because they have grown a very strong relationship with the handlers, and the latter do not want to see them being put under the care of someone else. But for the dogs who fail to find a home, non-profit organizations like Mission Canine Rescue, whose mission is to rescue, reunite, rehome, rehabilitate, and repair any retired working dog that has served mankind in some capacity, is always there to help them. More often than not, we have read about stories of dogs regardlessly saving the lives of their owners. Humans might or might not have exploited these cute animals' loyalty by involving them in war. But one thing we can tell for sure is that without the help of these little buddies, many human lives would have already been sacrificed. Admittedly, what I managed to cover is only a drop in the bucket. The great contribution of dogkind in warfare is not something we can cover in a 20-minute video. They were born dogs, but retired as soldiers. What do you think about these military dogs? Have I missed out any important dog breeds or interesting stories about military dogs? More importantly, do you think it's justified to put dogs in such a dangerous profession? Let us know in the comments below. With that, stay safe and see you in the next episode.
But his greatest loyalty and devotion was to his faithful partner, Officer Henry Betts. Henry and Barney had a very special relationship. They were inseparable, and they had a solid bond between them, what was obvious every time that you saw them, regardless of whether they were playing or working. I know that Barney was a loving member of Henry's family, and that his family, like our family here, cherished the times they had with him.
I don't believe Barney could ever be replaced. Our best hope is he can only be matched. When you get home today, if you have a pet, spend a little extra time with them.